Hey everyone, Michael Mechanical here. We're back with the Tata, and as you know, I've done some spending today and some work on this thing, and I came to a conclusion after pulling all this apart and putting it back together. As you can see, I've got a new hose here, new hose here. That should fix up the brakes a little bit, but I'll take those things back off should this be a problem. But either way, I haven't lost much money on those bits because I got some leftovers out of the car. As you can see, I've probably got compression tester out. I'm testing number 1 again, and I'm going to do 2 tests. I had to think about this really hard. First of all, the reason we're doing this compression test is to verify whether it's the top end of the motor that's got problems or the bottom end. Now, this is because as soon as I use some of the stuff that I've got, it's going to cost me money, especially if the bottom end's stuffed. If the bottom end of the engine is no good, it'll be wasted money. If I do this first, take a risk in destroying the engine, which I hope is not going to happen today, take a risk in blowing up the engine, destroying the engine, I will find out, once and for all, is the bottom end good or bad. Now, I've got a procedure in which I've got to follow, and if I don't, I have the highest risk of blowing this motor up. The procedure essentially is, first step, I'm going to do the dry compression test. I've set it all up for the dry compression test, and I've done it. Now, the thing you don't do with a diesel is you never wet test them. The reason you never wet test them is because if you put too much oil in there, it will hydrolock and probably blow the motor up or damage the bottom end, the compression. It's like this. What happens when you put an immovable object in front of, say, a piston? If the object is immovable in front of a piston, it's essentially you're hydrolocking it, and if there's just that little bit of hydrolocking, it will make the bottom end let go, or something in the bottom end is going to go. It will do damage, major damage, and we don't want that. So, what this test is going to do is going to verify the bottom end is good or bad. If the bottom end is good, the results of 290 psi should not change or vary by much. If it is a huge significant difference, if it gets close to the other last 2 cylinders, the bottom end is no good, this is going to the junker. Or maybe we'll just run it around as it is with the junk head. Shut up, plane. Up in the air. Loud planes. If this test result comes back as there is no change in the bottom end, it essentially tells us that the top end has a problem and it's valves. We need to validate that it's actually valves before we go and do some stupid things and see if we can fix anything. And it will also tell us that it'll be fine to do whatever we got to do. I want to know whether this is worth spending the money on to keep it going, because it's done about 79,000 kilometers, something like that, I can't remember. I was going to spend money on the tacho, almost did, until they told me they couldn't fix it. So, just bad luck for them. And I'm thankful that they didn't charge me for something they couldn't actually do anything with, but I still feel a bit guilty that I couldn't give them something for what they've done and letting me know what I got to do. So, procedure essentially was dry test first, and when I do that, I then got to pull out my tool bits. I got to feed oil into the engine. I must make sure that this little remote starter, it was actually broken, is working safely, and it's working safely now, but I can't take any risks. So, before I do the wet test, I'll be disconnecting the manual starter. I will be putting oil into the cylinder. I'll be cranking the motor over by hand and getting as much oil to come out as possible through that line. I could always get it out manually and then push it out with the starter. And then I've got to put my tool back all in, because now there's oil in the top end, and I've got to see if the compression changes or varies by much, and if it doesn't change, top end. If it does change, bottom end. But we're looking for 110 psi. That's what we're looking for. 110 psi is expected to come from the bottom end, and if it doesn't come from the bottom end, it's in the top, meaning it's a lot easier to fix this than we anticipated and thought. Another thing I might do while we're here as well, there is the rocker cover. This thing might have sludge in it, and I want to validate how much sludge might be in the engine, so I'm going to take that rocker cover off after a while, and I'm going to make sure I'm prepared. I've got goop to seal it all up, and should I take this off, it is a busted sort of rubbery gasket that I could essentially reuse it. Just put some goop on the gasket, make sure the sealing surface is all good, put it all back together. She'll run like a Swiss watch for a while. That's the way I'm going to validate, is this engine good or bad? Can I get a rocker cover gasket? Probably not. And I need to validate this, because if I spend the money on it, if I spend too much money on it, it's going to be a waste of money. And I need to validate, why is this engine pushing out so much oil? Why did it push out so much oil? Or if it is pushing out much oil, why? This engine has plenty of oil in it right now, so we're going to find out sooner or later what's going to happen. Now, I don't promise that I can film this very much. I'm going to try, but if I run into any issues, I might have to do whatever I can to other things. So I've got to have all my safety equipment on, because you guys can adjust the volume as required. Those are what the original test results were from memory. And because they're pretty linear, and we have 400 at the back, that tells me the engine should be in good condition. But the 290s tell me it's the head. Can we validate that one of them is the bottom or top? Because if it's the bottom end, it's game over already, because there's about $2,000 in just pistons. That's insane. If it needs pistons, that is insane. Then you have all the extra stuff. I mean, I can't afford to spend all that money on this. So, we're going to see what happens. And you literally have to stand here and do what you got to do, because it's not easy to do this stuff. It's also a bit of a pain to get this camera in a very good spot when doing these videos. I don't know if I can show you guys the gauge, but there's the gauge. So I got to do two things at once. This is going to be interesting. I checked that this was safe. I had to put the zip ties over here. I had to press the points to into their plastic, because one of them was miles out, and that's caused it to be unsafe. So to make the starter work, I literally need to know which one is the right wire to starter. So that there, touche. There's a positive. I'm trying to work out which one is the positive, because there's black and red wire here, but this red wire here goes straight onto it, and I don't believe I can put 12 volts on that. I believe the 12 volts goes to the other point, in which case I could jump it from there to there. But if I take a risk, I might damage it or cause an electric fire or something. So I've got to be very careful with what I'm doing here. And I'm not sure if it's NPN or PNP. So NPN is negative, positive, negative. PNP is positive, negative, positive. So if it's NPN, that's what it looks like. It looks like NPN, but it also looks like PNP. Positive would normally go to that. Positive, if I shot that across, I'll take a chance. Just be careful. I'm going to start with the 1. There we go. That doesn't work as intended, but it does. It did the job, sort of. I've got to get this up here more. I can't get a good positive. Ah! I know how to get a good positive. Come on. Come on. This shitty wire. This is shitty. I'm only getting it up to 250. And it's back down to 0 already. So it went up to 250. There we go. And these terminals are quite green, so that should fix that. $250, it's got a leak. It's leaking! I fucking can't get your hands in these things. This is ridiculous. Why is she leaking? Well, where is she leaking? If she leaks, she causes an issue. I can only get up to 250 and she keeps losing pressure, so... This is the stupidest part about a compression test. As soon as this thing drops down to 0... Oh, wait, I have to put that in the way. As soon as it drops down to 0, there's no way to validate what's going on. So... let's see if we can get these fittings any tighter. It's really freaking hard because there's no room in here. This is one of the reasons I hate this car. Just one. And I'm going to see if we can tighten that one up without it snapping or cracking or whatever it makes. Always, these fittings always do. That is a 14. I'm pretty sure it's 14. It's not fitting. Shit. Move that out of the way. I'll try a 15. Should really unplug this end at least. Bugger boom. Aha! Wrong one. Staying dip. It's tight. Can't even get this on one of the fittings that I freaking put in as tight as I could anyway. So any other way I can try to tighten it up a little bit more. She keeps releasing a lot of pressure. She's pretty much This is why it's really hard to do this test, because everything's just crap. You know, if it leaks, she stinks. $250, it wouldn't go any higher than $250 that time around. $250 is pretty shit. This is also cold. That is not very powerful at all. That's probably one of the reasons why she struggles at cold start. I'm pretty sure. Actually, did I fuck up? She gets closer to 400 now. She got up to 400. So, what the hell's 300? 350 on the gauge. $350. Realistically, I don't know what that means. It's cold. It is cold and it did 350. These fittings are shit to tighten up. It's in an awkward spot. My presumption now, I think the engine's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with the bottom end. I got told it was a good engine. So, I think I'm just bad at testing these things. It's such a pain in the ass to get the fittings on. I don't think we're getting rid of this. I don't think I need to oil test it. That just gave me some good results. I guess that's the thing. 350 PSI. That was hard to get. And it was just all from tightening the bolts. But it's possible that oil got to the rings and stuff and booted up its power or something. There's got to be some other reason why there's a problem. Head gasket is also letting go, so shit. And just because of what I've done, I might just do a test check in here, see if there's any oil. Not realistically, no. There's a milkshake coming out of the hose, but that's coming from the wrong side. Anyway, I think that's the end of this video for today. Come on, guys! I think we're keeping the Tata. I think that engine is actually better than I thought. No, better than I tested. But I still need to check that rocker cover gasket. Not the gasket. I'm just hoping I have enough goop. The blue stuff that we use, but we've also got some black. I hope I have enough of this to do that. Because if I don't, I'm screwed if it breaks and cracks and does some stupid things. That's also the best way to figure out, is this engine worth running without cleaner? I can return some stuff. I think this is seeming promising, but for some reason this thing is underpowered. This thing literally stalls when you put it in gear. I'm not sure why. I might ask someone. I'll let him know, hey, this is what I got out of it. I got 350 out of it, but the thing goes down so fast, I'm guessing my fittings are not tight enough. I reckon I could get 400 PSI out of each cylinder. I think the bottom end's good. Guys, I can't see a problem with the bottom end. I think the valves are also good, from what I can tell. But oil shouldn't be doing what it does. It shouldn't go up there. It would affect the first two cylinders. So there's got to be a reason why this is having some issues. I reckon this is going to be okay for a bit longer. I reckon it's got life in it. You saw me do the test. You know I did it kind of okay, I guess. But 350, I couldn't get any higher than 350. I reckon that's because air was escaping faster than it could build up pressure. And I know that 3 and 4 were perfect. And when I did 2 and 1, I mean, if I could show you how awkward it is to get in there. Literally, right down here, where my fingers are pointing, that's where the pipe goes. And you can't tighten up those bolts because you can't barely get enough travel with a spanner here. So literally, there's just no way to get much travel in there. And then over here, it's the same sort of dealio. You can't go very far. It's just so tough. And then getting them in and out and in and out. Yeah, you get it. This car is so underpowered for what it is. I have no idea why it's so underpowered. It could be injector pump, could be injectors, could be anything. Even my car is underpowered for what it is. It's 2.5 and a 2.8 is even faster than mine. This is a 2-litre turbo. Maybe it is all about capacity of the diesel. Maybe a diesel with a high capacity is better. Just hoping there's no dogs after me. Yeah, from what I could tell, I think this will be okay. Tata. Who would have thought that this thing could probably deliver that much PSI? 74,000 kilometers. It says on the clock. I believe it because the last 2 cylinders were pretty good. There was oil in the radiator. There was no oil that I could determine in the sump, but I haven't done the oil change yet. And if I do it, this thing should do another 50,000, close to that. I think there's one problem though. We've got to worry about the hoses letting go. It's already had some hose issues, holding air and doing some fun things. If I can drive this thing for a little while before it blows up or something bad happens, that'll be good. I can't let this thing blow up. I got to keep it going, use what I've got out of it, get out of it, and then get rid of it then. Or I fix it up a little bit, then sell it and say, hey, this thing's got a good engine in it still. It looks like it, anyway. Say it's got a good engine in it. Its bottom end's good, but the head gasket might need replacing. And it's not going to be hard because, hey, if I have the head gasket, I can say, here's the head gasket, here's some head bolts, now go get this thing done. But I'd also have to give them a manifold gasket. I'm just making this a little bit difficult, ain't I? Because if I give them all the parts, then they don't have to worry about going to look for them and realizing how hard it is. When they need something, then they can worry about it. Now, I'm not sure about what the brakes are like on this thing. I'm not sure about much about it. All I know is we just pulled 350 PSI out of that pop. The first one, which read 290 in the original. And we had 250, then we got up to 350. And I was reading the gauge wrong. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting to watch see what happens with the Tata. I personally believe if that's the numbers I can get out of this, it's worth going a little bit further and keeping this going a little bit longer. The thing is, I can't guarantee how long this is going to go because any part could let go at any point in time, and I don't know. I've heard how reliable these are, so I guess we're going to have to wait and see how long it lasts. It's going to be a hackabout, runabout car. That's about all it's going to be. And she's pretty much there. She's done and dusted. Although, if I think about it, there's some things that could be picked on in this car. I'm not sure how likely it is, because I don't know what's original on this and I don't know what's not. There's literally no mud flaps on this. And I can't tell by just looking at this if there is or isn't meant to be mud flaps. My guess would be this thing looks like it's an original mud flap, but it looks like it's been cut up. It literally does not look like this is original here. This was fabricated. That's the mud flap. They put a step here instead because there's all these rules that you need to be aware of, guys, when you get a car. I can't tell. And look, this side has the same dealio as the mud flap. Yeah, I think it's a mud flap. I can't tell you for certain because I don't know. But it looks like a mud flap, and it looks like it's been cut out just to put in that side step on the side. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Catch us around. Let me know what you think of the Tata's results. If it's true, false, bogus, bananas, whatever. Let's see what happens. Take care, everyone. Michael Mechanical, signing out.